as the resident horn dog, I will 100% agree. HBO, what are you doing? Like, you have all the ingredients for an explosive threesome. Put those people in the same room together, for God's sake. Like,
Welcome everybody to another episode of Vassals of Kingsgrave to cover Season 3, Episode 5 of House of the Dragon, titled Unbowed and Unbent. I am your host Zander, otherwise known as the Lord Baron, and joined with me today is Steph.
Hello, Steph for gsdg on the Discord.
Michal.
Hello, Michal / Inkasrain, although I'm not sure that name appears anywhere anymore.
And Katie.
this is Katie, Seheron on the Discord.
And okay, we are just going to start with quick lemon ratings and thoughts. We'll go the same order. So, Steph?
Oh, I guess like 3.5 lemon cakes. Maybe, not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting Butcher's Ball this episode. And, obviously there's been no set pieces and, that's fine. We need to do the groundwork somewhere so we can have the big payoffs. But maybe, talking about this with all of you guys will change my opinion. And also, maybe when the season's over, this will go better on a binge watch.
And Michal, your not rating, rather?
I really liked it. I watched it late, so I'd been hearing some positive buzz. So maybe that impacted how I was feeling about it. But, it felt like a similar episode to last week, but just done much better. Like, I found myself thinking during, like, not every single dialogue scene, but, like, most of them, that, like, this is just way more propulsive than I was expecting. And specifically the fact that there weren't any set pieces, like, it really surprised me that they managed to keep the energy going for most of it. And I enjoyed it a lot.
And how about you?
I will give it a 5, and I think I'm going to rank it that highly just because last week was such a disappointment. And yeah, I'm very much on the same level as Michal, where it feels so similar to last week, but is just much more skillfully done. There's way more connective tissue in the structure and the dialogue. It just felt like a more thoughtfully constructed episode. There are a few goofy scenes. Alice Rivers continues to confound me, but for the most part, like, everything just felt more skillful and considered. So yeah, it felt a relief because last week had me a little worried. I was like, oh no, this feels like a Game of Thrones episode. And this week felt much more like a return to form.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as high as a 5, but I kind of agree with everybody here. It's pretty good. I'd say I don't know if and I'm gonna give it a solid 4, I think. And I'm wondering if this is partially like a rebound effect for me after seeing the Odyssey this weekend. But really the entire episode, I was just like, this is good. I like this. This is good. I'm all right. It kind of like you said, McCall, too, like, even though there weren't any set pieces or big action, it kept that energy from start to finish.
Yeah, and I'm not even totally sure. It's hard to pinpoint because, I would say that it's because a lot of characters are on the move, but, like, that's not necessarily true. Like, Alicent and Helena, Rhaenyra, Aemond and what's her face? They're all stationary, and I mean, Kristen Cole is moving, but it doesn't really feel like he's going anywhere. But I still felt, like there was just a momentum to it. I think I think having the it's not that prominent in the episode, but I think having the plot of like who is murdering the gold cloaks like also added just sort of a frisson of just like not potential danger for our characters, but a potential like wrong footing, I guess, for the people in King's Landing. And I think that maybe was a helpful contributing element. And I also think that they've done a really good job with what's his face? Sorry, I can't remember names today. The head of the Gold Cloaks.
Yeah, I just kept calling him the captain of the Gold Cloaks.
Yeah, I keep on calling him Janos Slit, but that's not his name.
Luther Largent.
Luther Largent. Thank you, Katie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought they did a really good job of characterizing that guy in a very like short amount of time. And I'm not like sad that he's dead, but I definitely like you feel that the story and the political situation in King's Landing has changed because he is now off the board. So it felt a little bit like Jory Cassell to me, obviously like on the opposite side of the law maybe, but you know, a character who like their death is not going to make any like historical impact or like major huge political waves, but it does impact like the characters on a character level. And I liked it.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I also, now that I'm thinking about it as we're talking, I think one of the ways this episode does keep kind of that energy and momentum is something, especially this season, but even the second season and Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the way they break up their narratives now is almost like vignettes instead of here's a chunk of this story, here's a chunk of this story. So they kind of physically keep you moving because you're going to Harrenhal, then you're going to the Red Keep, then you're going in the Riverlands on campaign. It might not always work, I think, but it doesn't kind of bog you down, I guess. We open the episode with Oscar and Roddy being told that another crossing has been burned, so they'll have to find some other way to get around. Roddy says to send him and his wolves to hunt, but young Lord Oscar suggests playing Cole's game. We see Cole and his men ambush a camp in the night, setting it ablaze. Then in Harrenhal, some scruffy men are looking for Aemon the Kinslayer, but are scared by Alice's best Batman impression. We then see that Aemon is having nightmares, and the Witch of Harrenhal comforts him.
His new mommy. I hate the bat stuff. I mean, I do think it's cool that they're acknowledging that Harrenhal is filthy with bats, and that's why House Went takes them as their arms later, or has always taken them as their arms, whatever. But her, like, anytime they try to show her being supernaturally, which I know it's not supernatural, like she throws a rock and it scares the bats, but it's just goofy to me. Whereas when she's just doing normal stuff, like talking to Aemond or like doing needlepoint, like she has more presence. But when she's like doing this goofy shit of like, I'm going to confront these 3 armed men and hope that the bats spook them enough that they run away, it just doesn't work terribly well for me. But I do like this like dynamic that she and Aemond do have in their private scenes, just because it feels such a better setup than Daemon stuck at Harrenhal. Like, Aemond has a good reason to be stuck, he has a good reason to be vulnerable and enthralled to her because he's feverish and freaking out. It's just more interesting from like a character place, and to have him like all of his layers peeled away like this.
Yeah, I agree kind of with everything you said. It's the like spooky, witchy, wahaha stuff just really doesn't work for me. I also think that her wig is really bad. And Gail Rankin is an amazing actress, but it's just kind of for the most part not working for me. I was a little distracted when Aemon wakes up from his dream, and like center frame is not his face, but like his abs, which are in like perfect condition. I was a little like, sometimes there's just like sort of a physical detail that takes you out of the character. Like, not that Eamon wouldn't have an amazing abs, but like it's like that's very clearly like a modern training situation going on. Anyway, that's not important or relevant. But I do think they're developing this relationship in a way better and more successful way, like than with Daemon. Like I think they were trying to make Daemon vulnerable when they have actually made Aemond vulnerable.
That's funny that you were distracted by his abs because I was distracted by his gem eye moving with his real eye.
Yeah, that was tough. Also, the his wig not great either, especially when it's like all the way down around his like. Yeah, I was there were issues that were distracting me in that scene, or in these scenes, but overall, I like where it's going.
Also, hi Hannah. Did you want to give your lemon cakes? We just started.
Hey gang, I was like, you must be talking about Daron with his shitty wig.
No. Different Alice and son.
God, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this really. I guess I'll give it like a 3 lemon cakes. It was mixed reviews for sure. I'm confused, but I'm here for it. Having just reread the book, it's like it's odd, but it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, I intentionally avoided rereading the series for the show run.
Probably for the best. I should have done too, but I was like curious. And honestly, though, it's not that bad because there's certain things that I don't know why I thought the book was longer when we get to this like section of the dance, but it's actually really short and there isn't a lot of information. It's broad strokes. So the liberties taken are not necessarily like how effing dare you. It's not like season 5 at all of GOT. So there's that. It's just thinking about how it's all going to come together, in the end. And the pace is still a problem for me. But, it'll be fine. I'm sure.
I don't really have much on these opening scenes, besides, what we already touched on with Alice. Because I agree with what you guys have been saying too. She's more interesting when she's not trying to be all spooky ooky. And I think I'm enjoying what they're doing with Aemond. I'm not sure yet though.
Yeah, actually, what I discovered, and I didn't really remember this, but this part is fairly true to the book, and she is like I feel like her name is mentioned more times in this particular section of the novel than Rhaenyra's is, dead ass. So that's something, I guess.
I mean, part of that comes down to like, I mean, I don't want to like speak for George, but like, I can imagine that writing Fire and Blood partly felt so awesome because if he wasn't interested in something, he literally didn't have to write it. It didn't matter. So if he was just like, I'm really feeling like witch shit at Harrenhal, like building this up in the atmosphere and whatever, then he can just go crazy on that. And bless him, it's great. But like when you're telling a narrative TV show, you simply can't do that.
I think too, like with Fire and Blood, so it's a huge, thick ass novel, right? This particular section of it is not much bigger than what's in the world book. So I feel like he expounded on all the things that are real bullet pointy in the world book. And then this part that has more time, give it to in the world book, he didn't augment it very much from that. So that I think both of those things are true.
Okay, any last thought on these openings?
I was just gonna say I really do like, and it's not just the opening, it's like throughout the episode, the setup for the sack of King's Landing, I think is so far anyway. We'll see what happens, but I think they're handling it appropriately. And again, fairly true to the source material. So that part I'm enjoying, and I'm here to see further where it goes. And that's all I was going to say.
Yeah. No, yeah, it does. They are building a slow tension burn at the Capitol, it feels like. And speaking of King's Landing, Orwell brings Alicent and Helena moon tea and tells her he cannot act under the Queen's nose anymore. And Helena refuses to take the moon tea, which I figured we could stop and talk about this real.
Can we just all agree that forced abortions are not cool, and not allowing anyone to have an abortion is also not cool? And there's
Sure, I think
another
we
VOK
established
PSA.
we're pro-choice on this on this podcast. I mean, I don't mean to speak for anyone, but that's part of why this situation is so compelling and tragic for me. Like, it's, you know, obviously I want Helena to have autonomy over her body and her life and as many chickens as she desires. But at least I can understand why, her being pregnant is for Alicent like, we must stop this, because if her goals are to keep Helena like alive, which is part of that is being politically invisible, then this is shining a gigantic spotlight on her. And like, I especially as it got like more physical, I just, it felt like such a, like, a very small undocumented part of the tragedy of the Dance of the Dragons was just like this situation. And I don't know where it's going. I'm quite confused with the way the episode leaves off. But I liked it a lot.
Totally. And it's good to have Helena have that explosion. 'Cause I don't think we've ever had her like lash out like that, but obviously like she's being cornered by her mother in what is an act of violent love, right? It's like, I'm doing this because I love you. I'm going to violate your autonomy because I love you. And that is a nightmare scenario. Like, that is not something that a child ever wants to deal with their parent. But you can also understand where Alicent is coming from, because it's like they're prisoners. Like, their situation is like, there are so many restrictions on like their ability to live their lives, and presumably like their ability to live their lives forever going forward, that it's like we have to consider how much pain do we want to allow ourselves. Like, think about the future long term. It's tough, but yeah, I also just appreciate Orwell in this scene. Like, he's a good like background character going on through all this, because it's like he seems like a decent dude, but he's also not going to stick his neck out further than he needs to, and is just very honest about that. And I like that, like, Alicent touches his hand. Like, there's nothing intimate about it. It's just like, this is someone who is taking care of my health and giving me options that I didn't have necessarily at different times, like when she had to have her own abortion. It was all good character work. I liked everything about the scene.
And I thought the way she was referring to the moon tea was also kind of very sad and moving. Like, what it's like, it's a gift. It will free you. It freed me. It saved me. It saved Rhaenyra. Like, almost like not indoctrinating, but like sort of in a dark way, welcoming Helena into another part of Westerosi womanhood. That like, she shouldn't have to be experiencing because she wants this child. It was all quite sad. And I agree about Orwell. Like, I felt like the whole scene, I felt like, did just a really good job of balancing like people doing things they didn't necessarily want to do, but like kind of for practical and understandable reasons. Like the fact that Orwell can't, like, he can't, extend his neck out further, or else it will get, he'll get his head cut off. Like, it just will. And, the fact that they both understand that, especially considering the way Alicent like finds her feet politically later in the episode, I thought was really strong.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like, what Katie's saying about like violent love, her entreating Helena to see the reality of what this child's life would be like, where at best they'd be taken to ward and essentially held hostage. And that's, only if they're a girl, really, punctuated by the absolute nightmare between Dayron and Ormond. Her brother is like, that is very compelling and poignant. And I think it's something that often when we do study history, the emphasis tends to be put on the glory of battle and, this and that, and not these, ward is a euphemism for political prisoner, and it's God only knows what happens. I mean, look at like the princes in the tower and stuff like that. And so I do like that this series has chosen to shed a light on some of the courtly abuses that do happen, have happened, are happening. We tend to be like, oh well, gilded cage, but it's not a joke. And I do kind of like the way that she was just begging Helena to avoid that. And I also like that in the end she didn't really get angry with her with rejecting it. It was just fear based, and I think that's true to being like a mom and would be true, like a true reaction in that situation.
Yeah, and just what I found about just like how this scene fits into the letter. The story that they seem to be trying to tell with this character is that like trying to like do some sort of like like whatever you want to call it, accountability, amends, whatever, to Rhaenyra with the whole deal to hand over King's Landing is, and just involves still, like visiting, like, or, just like doing other things to, just like hurt your children. Because, it's like, okay. So it is kind of like a Jaime Lannister thing, like so many vows, they make you swear and swear, which, maybe they were trying to depict that more in season 1 and season 2, but I obviously haven't connected with that aspect when they were doing that portion of their planned character arc for her. But this is it's like just exploring the ways in which trying to like do the right thing in one sense means doing a very awful thing in another, and that you cannot, like, while still trying to kind of be a better person, that you're still you're still hurting someone. And there's this, sorry for the ramble, but does that make sense?
I mean, it does make sense, and I think it's part of what Alicent is sort of trying to communicate to Helena here. Like, she is sort of asking her to choose which child. It's almost like
Oh, Michal, you cut out.
a talking. Is this audible?
Yep, can hear you now.
Okay.
So I think you cut off right right after you're saying it's essentially like her asking pick which child.
Yeah, so she's asking her to pick which child gets to live or she gets to raise, right? Like, it's sort of like Blood and Cheese, just more protracted and less obvious, because I feel like Alicent feels pretty strongly that they can either stay in King's Landing and Helena does not bring this to term, or she leaves King's Landing or tries to escape King's Landing anyway, and she has that baby, but they can't take Seheron with them. And like, it sucks. It really sucks. But it's, I feel like a lot of it, like being asked to choose and choose selflessly over and over and over again, and having those choices rebound and cause pain to you and the people you were trying to spare from pain, is like Alicent's whole life. So it's yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the blood and cheese thing, because we finally have, if not in this scene, then in this episode, we finally have Helena bring up blood and cheese again for the first time since it happened, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least since like the funeral / yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
since the funeral, right? Because, of course, they spent the entire episode about the fallout from Blood and Cheese, right? But like even in that episode, she didn't really get much, right? It was just like the scene with her and Aegon on the stairs, right? And with the funeral, and then yeah, this is like the fallout of, her lashing out to Allison is kind of like the culmination of, just like, or yeah, having her life run by Allison to like, it's like you made me marry my brother, like, and like consummate the marriage rather early, and like now you want me to have an abortion, right? So
Well, and I will say too, that this episode gives Helena a lot to do and the actress a lot to do, and I think this episode is a perfect example of like what an unutilized character that could have been really great for the story earlier.
I do wonder if they had done Blood and Cheese true to the book, if something like this would still have happened, because it does now, I think for me at least, instill slightly more sympathy than I usually have for Alicent, given that like everything that Steph just said is like her journey with her own father too, like she's literally on the receiving end of everything she's given to people, and like now giving out what she's received from people that have not necessarily been great influences or loving, and just using her for this or that gain in her life. So it does give her character a lot more dynamics, and I wonder if they had chosen to have a Maelor, if we would still see something like this regardless.
And then in another part of the Red Keep, Rhaenyra calms down Lady Frey with a stare, and she accepts joining her small council. In the council chambers, we see no one seems to be in agreement on what is top priority between the attack on the Gold Cloaks, where Vhagar and Aemond are, the lack of food and money, when Orwyle brings up Cole's attacks. When Daemon leaves the chamber, Rhaenyra follows him and scolds him for not listening to her, but they are interrupted when a maid tells of Prince Joffrey's return.
Actually, that's a Linda Massey, and put some respect on her name because Rhaenyra is probably going to have her filleted later.
Oh, my bad.
Another great scene where I thought everybody was perfectly poised and in character. I'd completely forgotten that Jace had promised the phrase Harrenhal, and I love that continuity that now it's become a huge problem because Rhaenyra probably also forgot that her son had promised Harrenhal to the phrase. But not in like a badly scripted way of like, oh yeah, like that's something that could very easily slip your mind while you're doing a million other things, and now it's created a huge diplomatic incident. Um, but yes, I love Daemon saying no to the queen in front of everyone and them having a marital spat in the hallway. And I hate that he's right and he's wrong as usual. Like he is absolutely correct that like she should not have flipped out about the graffiti. Maybe just deal with it quietly. That she's not living up to her power. However, like he can't be telling his wife out. He cannot be telling his wife off like this in public. Um, as usual, like their dynamic is also it's sparkling. I love it every time they're kind of butting heads with each other. Because you can see both sides of their argument.
yeah, Matt Smith was great this entire episode, and yeah, Damon and Rhaenyra had some great moments together, including in their scene, which I'm sure we'll discuss later.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm also oddly actually glad that we had Damon, Alice Rivers, Mystic, Magic, Voodoo Dreams all last season, because these moments between them, if we didn't kind of now have this truth that he's a true believer, would play differently, I think, and would detract from the performance and the story. So as frustrating as all that shit was, and I definitely still stand by it, took way too long, too much time was spent on it. I like banking on the fact that, you know, now when Damon eventually goes to his death over this, it's not clawing for his own power. He is trying to rule with her as her consort. And these moments were gold, you know, this balance. Still don't understand what the shade is between him and the White Worm, though. That's kind of frustrating, but alas, it's happening. I wish they would get over that. It's kind of annoying me at this point.
Hannah, to your point about Damon and Missaria beefing, I mean, they just, you know, he clocked that Rhaenyra and Missaria started having some sort of situationship right when he came back, and then, of course, she's a goddamn communist with all her talk about the poor of King's Landing. So,
Yeah, they are bitter exes. I think the one thing that is a little irksome, and it's not a total complaint because I do think they balance it well, is that Rhaenyra being so stressed and so overwhelmed and so low on people she can trust, it makes sense. But sometimes I think they make her a little too incompetent or a little too floundering, where it's like, did she really never see any petitioners when she was on Dragonstone?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this like recently when she's like sitting on the throne and having a hard time, and I'm like, I feel like she was so politically savvy in the first and second seasons, and it's like her wits have kind of abandoned her, and it's like I get it, like it's a completely different situation. She's never sat in King's Landing before, um, but I don't know, like I kind of wish there was a little more like points in her favor, like of her making right decisions to balance out the mistakes. But
Yeah.
right now, I think I can see like the shape of the season better than I could a few episodes ago, and how like this is inevitably going to lead to a crash between her and Damon. Like either she's gonna tell him just fucking burn Tumbleton, or or he's gonna do it on his own and she's gonna send him away for it. But I think they've laid out the tension at least like believably with her and her court at this point.
I don't know. This is one of the departures from the books that's like frustrating, and also I kind of this is where I feel like I'm really confused about how I feel, because in the book, you know, she is named Viserys heir, and from that moment on, she sits at the steps of the Iron Throne when he holds court and he hears petitioners. So it's not that she's wholly uneducated. And then a lot of this moment from here on out in the book, for most of the rest of her reign until the sack of King's Landing, and Joffrey's death, spoiler alert, it talks repeatedly about how every time she sits on the throne she gets cut by it, and everyone's like, oh, it's a bad omen, you know, she's not fit for it. So I guess they're kind of doing that, but in a little less prophetic, you know, signs kind of way. They're doing it in a little more realistic way, where she's just overwhelmed. I mean, war leaves problems, which is why people shouldn't go to war, because everybody loses. And she's inheriting a lot of shit from this war, you know?
I just realized Frey woman, is it Sabbatha Frey? I don't think they said her name.
yeah,
What
it's Sabbatha Frey.
Yeah, what role is she fulfilling in the council? Like, she's not Lord of Ships. Is she the lawmaster?
She's the lady of pacifiers, because that's essentially what it is. Like,
Yeah, maybe she doesn't have an official title.
Rhaenyra didn't know that they're supposed to have titles. She was just like, I don't know, I need extra people, so
well, maybe Rhaenyra, when she told the balls to fuck off, she also told the titles to fuck off.
The mistress of TBD.
Yeah.
yeah, right, yeah.
I did love her and Manderley having their little bitch fest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They would absolutely be the most obnoxious court gossips.
Can we talk really quick about why it's a Manderley and not Celtigar? I don't understand that departure.
I think that I'm chalking it up just so it's more recognizable of a name for people that are watching the show.
I forget exactly what Sir Torrin Manderley did in the book besides just like be there as part of Rhaenyra's on the outer edges of Rhaenyra's inner circle. But I think he plays his part well as I think this can, or the way he's playing it can like play into the boogeyman of our times, like the petit bourgeois technocrat, who's
Yeah, it's not like it bothers me. I just was wondering if there was some significance that I didn't pick up on.
Well, he's involved in the Regency, right? So I think that they're just assuming they do the Regency, they're kind of collapsing some of the characters that they need.
Oh, like amalgamizing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, they I don't think they mentioned that Joffrey is betrothed to a Manderley as part of Jace's northern tour, but yeah, the Manderleys are there to get their promised Targaryen match, which they're still salty about.
Yeah, that's true.
I will say, like, I was a little skeptical having this new guy just like waltz in and be on the small council. But he's really funny. And I mean, in a very dark way, also, like, when he's asking about the gold cloaks who were murdered, and like he makes the notes in his ledger, and like he's not doing that because he's like, oh, this and this happened. He's doing that because we don't have to pay this and this person anymore. Like, it's very it's very cold, but he's also very funny at the same time.
Yeah, that actor is amazing. Like, he was the best part of Fanboys for sure. I guess okay, so Steph, what you're saying, or maybe it was Michal. I did forget. You're right. Like, there's also a part where it's like Manderley and Celtigar they talk about betrothing their daughters to Ulf and Hugh the Hammer, and then that'll be a way to like give them their,
reward
castles. Yeah, like it wouldn't really be them, it'd be their ladies, but because their sons are dead from the war. But then fuck, I can't remember who speaks out against it, but it ends up not happening, and then that's part of their betrayal.
It's the sea snake. Yeah, it's the sea snake who doesn't want the heiresses of, say, like Stokeworth, I think, or Rosby, or maybe both of them, who are, and those are the heiresses that close their gates to Rhaenyra when she's trying to get to Dragonstone after the dragon. But
yeah. But and then isn't there like that whole thing with Rosby and Homeboy comes in and rescues her, and then they get married? Or am I tripping? Oh no, it's Beesbury. It's Beesbury. Yeah. Never mind, that's a different thing.
Yeah, so like Daemon is on the side of, yes, you need to like give them a reward, and then Corlys is like, absolutely not, like he was with the Kingswood when Rhaenyra was sitting in judgment earlier this season. So of just like, this is not done, this is against all precedent, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and we're past that point in well, if we're going by the book, we're well past that, I think, at this point.
No, I think this would be the point to float it if they do, because Templeton's right around the corner. So
yeah, I don't know how that's gonna play. I think they're trying to shift away from that and do this thing with Hugh the Hammer's wife instead, as a mechanism,
but temporarily still alive.
Yeah, those dominoes are gonna fall because of that, I think, not the rest of those politics. But it sure would be interesting if they painted some of that in, at least in the background. I will say this show is good about having like these little background moments with the small folk and the lesser lords, whether they're lamplit or not. If you're paying attention, there is a lot of storytelling going on, and world building continues, this late in the game. And that I do like.
No, and I think the like reward through marriage with an heiress could still be addressed with Ulf, but they don't have to make both of them turn for that reason, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Politics, man.
All right. Any last thoughts on these past couple scenes?
Is anyone else really just if Bela and Reina never show up again, I wouldn't cry about it?
They're not my favorite.
It's sad too because I know the actresses are trying so damn hard, and so is Alan's actor, but it's like whatever at this point.
They've definitely muted those two's personalities. Maybe
Yeah.
necessarily so. Like, there's already like such a huge cast. But yeah, I mean, they're all fine. I like them well enough. It's just like they don't have much going on.
and yeah, it is kind of just a function of the same problem that we had in season 2, right? Of the spotlight of like the character who's the next one slated to die needs to take more time in the spotlight.
Well, yeah, I mean, Exhibit A, Joffrey showing up.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
So, my hope for Adam is that as the cast thins out, that he'll step up and, like it's, and yeah, it is a disappointment because, just from the, his introduction with, like playing house with Alan on Driftmark, that, like he does seem that he has the charisma to be able to take a prominent role in the story for when the book material might lead one to believe.
Yeah, one can only hope.
That scene was so great with like, obviously Rhaenyra being totally correct about like, you can't rule in front of me. Like that doesn't work. We can't do that. And it kind of made me think that like as much as Daemon like has grown and has come to accept like Rhaenyra as like the queen, I still think he's like, I'm really the ruler though, and maybe not even consciously, but there's the way he talks about like tempering her impulses with Luther Largent later, like and it's not even that he's wrong because he wasn't wrong about that, but I do feel like there's sort of a like if Daemon was really seeing himself as secondary to Rhaenyra, then a lot of these issues would not come up. And I do feel like he's just, on some level, he is trying to rule the kingdom, kind of around her.
I think you nail it with like, yeah, even maybe subconsciously. Like, I think it's just his nature, right?
Yeah.
To have that sort of arrogance.
He even has a slip of the tongue when he gives his like pep talk later, saying like a new Valyria, So it's again, I think it is subconscious. That's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah, I think he just is so. It's probably psychologically what makes him such a brilliant military mind and a good leader of people like the Gold Cloaks and can attract a lot of loyalty. It's that psychopathy of the never satisfied, always more, always more, always more. It's like they haven't even really secured her reign yet, and he's talking about taking Pentos and taking, you know what I mean? It's like pump your brakes, but it's like what makes him a wild card and an asset, and it's her time to assert some dominance and control over it and target his, like, I don't understand why she's so obsessed with him going to Harrenhal when she must know from growing up with him as Lord of Fleabottom that he should stay in the city and take care of business. Like, she's so, I don't understand the obsession with Aemond and Vhagar at this stage.
Aemond, I think it's just a vengeance thing of wanting to get him, well, politically, I mean, strategically, getting him off the board is important, but also that's the guy who killed Luke. And I think like that is still kind of itching in the back of her mind of like, I need to take care of him. And then like she can kind of unclench and relax a little because that means that Vagar will be off the board. They've gotten rid of like a major contender for the throne, and she's gotten personal vengeance. But yeah, like Daemon and Rhaenyra, I mean, his whole thing from like season 1 is that he's impotent, right? He has like on a metaphorical level, he
Thank you for
cannot.
reminding me of that, Katie.
Yeah, he cannot. He can't work it in the bedroom, and it's a metaphor for his larger life of he can't be the person that he thinks he wants to be, the person that he thinks will make him happy, and he kind of positions Rhaenyra as the roadblock to that because all of his power
Yeah.
comes through her, and he doesn't like who she is. He doesn't like that she's the super ego to his id, and it's what makes their dynamic fascinating and constantly like they are just never speaking to each other. Like they're always speaking past each other.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I
But
think
the only
Rhaenyra is
thing
probably like
sword in his
responding.
hand. Sorry, Mahal.
Oh, sorry. I think Rhaenyra is probably on a subconscious level, like as far as her being like highly attuned to threats, real and imagined. Like I think that Daemon being there is not helping, and Daemon's behavior is not helping. I don't think it would really improve if he left either, to be honest. But I think that he's an unstable force, and like he would be an amazing general if he realized that he was a general, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel too like some of it, the problem is like Daemon kinda just needs to not talk to her and just do his shit, because right now she's in such a reactionary place anyway. So part of it is like not to like go around her or undermine her, but kind of he's in a place where he should be asking forgiveness, not permission with some of this shit, and take that choice off her plate. And then she should allow him to do that. But what bothers me the most about it is if they had stayed true to the book, where like by this moment the white worm, him and her, are more of a triumvirate than not. Like they're all very in line here at this point, to the point where Mushroom's talking about like they're all sharing a bed together. So that's what annoys me a little bit with this, oh, you're my ex and I hate you thing going on between them. It's unhelpful, and they're not helping her rule the way that they should and promise to.
Yeah, but I mean, he just kind of tried to do that with the fake sheep stealer death. I mean, sheep
Yeah,
stealer
but the
rider death.
motivation for it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that's the part in the writing where it's like it's almost you're connecting dots that don't need to be connected, and you're skipping beats that really shouldn't be skipped. So, I mean, we'll all see how it comes to a head, but sometimes conflict for conflict's sake is not as entertaining as actual being on sides together and then still having all these insurmountable problems. I think that's actually more compelling story writing, but I guess it is difficult to go away from certain tropes and paint by numbers things that work with storytelling in Hollywood, and you're on time constraint. I get it to a certain extent.
I'm gonna say, and this is unlike me, but I think that they are really missing a beat in not doing more storytelling via sex. Like I think that Daemon and Rhaenyra's problems could be quite well illustrated in a sexual situation, and like the fact that we sort of come close, like it's a little bit verbally sexy when they're talking to each other in High Valyrian later, but like the fact that the show has been so chaste like this whole season and really most of last season, generally something I respect, but I do feel like they're missing, they're missing an opportunity here.
That is unlike you.
It is unlike me, I know.
As the resident horn dog, I will 100% agree. HBO, what are you doing? Like, You have all the ingredients for an explosive threesome. Put those people in the same room together, for God's sake. Like,
Especially since it's true to the source material. It's not gratuitous. Like, it's, I will say though, speaking of the High Valyrian, can we just snap claps for Matt Smith and Emma Darcy? Like, amazing dialect work. So buttery and delicious. And I could listen to her do High Valyrian all fucking day long. Amazing.
yep, we're not at that scene yet, but like, trilling their R's, it's wonderful.
Hmm.
So after that, Aegon and Larys are in the forest as Aegon wants to leave and find his brother to kill him, which that will circle back around with the next scene in them because some good stuff. But then we go to see Mysaria visit Alicent to find out if it's true that she was delivered moon tea, and Alicent tries to cover up for Helena by drinking it in front of her.
Am I the only one that thought that was really dangerous and was like, oh boy, how would that work on your uterus?
I mean, moon tea seems to be pretty one size fits all in Westeros. Right?
I wish
Like
Adam
Marjorie
wasn't
could be
around.
taking it for her period cramps, or she could be taking it for an abortion, you know. There's just no way
Is
to
it
know.
used that way? Do we know that?
I'm pretty sure that Marjorie's moon tea is used by Cersei as evidence of her sexual activities, but yeah, I don't know that they ever get quite so granular with it, but that was kind of my interpretation. Like I assumed it would probably just bring
Cause of
on
cramping.
her period, yeah, cramping, stuff like that.
Yeah, I really wish like Kevin and or Adam were here from a medical standpoint. This was like it was almost so distracting that I almost went back and rewatched the scene like right then and there because I was like, as a person with endometriosis and PCOS, I'm like, that cannot be right, man. Like, I was like hurting for her. I need a hot stone myself.
I will say we see her in the next scene. She's got like and I'm guessing like a warm cloth on her
Yeah, it's like a
stomach.
hot
And
stone.
Well,
she's
it's
like,
the same
yeah.
thing she was doing when she induced her own abortion last season. Like she was in the same position.
I feel like the violent cramping would be just, it has to be some kind of danger. Or maybe like you're saying, it wouldn't do anything. We'll have to talk to somebody that's ever taken Plan B when they didn't need it.
After that, Sir Gawain, Cole, and their company are traveling through the woods, and Gawain offers Cole service at Hightower in Old Town. Shortly, they come upon caltrops, which I guess in this universe are called crow's feet, which is kind of cool, set by the Windsor Wolves and Rivermen. And then we see Alicent holding a hot stone to her stomach, watching a handmaid in the background, and she takes off her seven-pointed star necklace.
I like that the maids have new uniforms now. I don't think we've seen those before.
No, I don't think so.
One thing, or two things I really like about the forest scene, other than it's always nice to be on like a big physical set like this, an actual forest, um, is that I love Wayne telling the story of always letting Ormond win when they were racing to the top of the high tower as kids, because it foreshadows Darren failing to let Ormond win the Syvas game later.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody online pointed this out. So I think it happens twice this episode, but we see a spider web in the foreground of a shot, and Cole is kind of framed through the web. And it calls back to like a line he has in an earlier season where he's like, "I was caught in Rhaenyra's web."
Oh, he calls her a spider, I think, like outright.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it just kind of speaks to his mindset of like feeling trapped by the nobility, and like this is where the game has led him. He's kind of like stuck in this morass that he has no way out of. It's subtle storytelling. It's part of why I really like this episode. It just feels thoughtful in its continuity.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That was a really smart framing, and he Cole is he's so interesting in this episode, and I wonder if, like, part of it is just like Fabian Frankel does feel like he is kind of done, and he's
Mhm.
like kind of not emoting as much as he maybe would have in season 1. But nevertheless, it's still like he's still doing, I think, a good job carrying the character to the end of his arc. Like, I found this whole thing very powerful and truly awful to see what happened to the horses, because that, like, it was very confusing, and it was like, what are we supposed to be picking up on here? Like, why are they freaking out? Like, at first I was like, are they smelling like wolf pelts, and like that's why they're losing it. But like, it's really brutal, to plant those things and like take out horses. Like, it's very dark, and sucks. Also, I find it interesting that like the people I'd been listening to kind of interpreted Ormond and Gawain's relationship as being more like Ormond and Darren, like maybe, Gawain was kind of a proto Darren, and it doesn't seem like that was the case. Like, it, at least from this like brief story, it seems more like they had more of an equitable relationship. So that was like an interesting data point to me, like for when he shows up at Old Town or Tubbleton.
Yeah, I think I agree that I don't see it as like a parallel relationship, but I also realized I have a super soft spot for Gwaine. I don't know if it's just the actor or if his character is just a little too genuine for this universe, you know?
And really, it's just compared to the rest of the insanely dysfunctional Hightowers, it's kind of a minor miracle that he turns out to be like a decent
Right.
person after he gets the, pompous pulling rank stuff in front of Crispy that we got in his introduction out of right.
Yeah, his face is just very believably despairing throughout this entire episode. Like, he's not putting on this like manful display of stoicism. He is exhausted. He is scared. He is not happy to be out in the rainy woods with this suicidal man on a warpath. Yeah, he's just a believably relatively gentle spirit compared to most of the characters around him.
His face is just like the visual equivalent of someone going but I like it. I mean, like, I don't blame him. I would also be like that too. Like, kind of, he's kind of like, I need to choose better friends. I keep winding up in these kind of situations.
Yeah. Was I the only one? It kind of when the caltrops thing happened, but then the next scene when they cut back to them again, I was like, "Oh shit, are we gonna have Butcher's Ball right this second?" Like, I literally had to like click on the screen to see how much time was left on the episode because I was like, "Oh fuck, it's happening."
Back at King's Landing, Damon and his gold cloak captain are walking and talking when the two find two dead gold cloaks disemboweled and throats slit. After we see a child give notice to some shady guys, Ormond receives a raven about those deaths. And then Ormond questions and tells Darren the history of Mariah Mattel, the Yellow Toad of Dorne. But when Darren wins Savas with a dragon, Ormond angrily tells him to never apologize for victory. He then shows Darren he's minted coins with his likeness.
So fucking sick and creepy. Yeah.
The trauma response is so real anytime these two have a scene together.
Oh, man. So like makes my blood pressure go up watching it. Terrible.
Like, we'll hear it of like your history studies, and when at the beginning of the scene, for me, wasn't really doing him or doing Ormond any favors on the the sexual abuse angle of that we've been discussing on the Discord.
No.
There's so many layers to the Syvath scene. Like, right away, like, Ormond is just like the kind of person, he's looking for an excuse to take his anger out on Darren, so that like when Darren says, "Oh, the histories were dry," like, you can kind of see Ormond toying with like how far he is going to use that as an excuse to punish him, and Darren immediately course corrects. He's like, "Oh, they seem dry. Like, forget I said that. I was not complaining." But yeah, like, I love that they fit in the history of the Yellow Toad and Dorne, and it just reveals like Orman's kind of, I mean, he's strategic, but like he's talking about how even the cleverest mind can outsmart a beast, and then Darren fucking wins the game. It's
Mhm.
so good. And even like the way like after he throws his little tantrum, he switches tactics and like he was violent and now he's going to be warm and cuddly and be like, "No, I'm trying to teach you a lesson. Never apologize. Also, here's this coin I made of you." It's just so believably hot and cold and like strategic in when he's going to punish versus when he is going to apologize and create warmth. Such a good scene. This was great.
Did anyone else wonder if the reference to the histories being dry, oh wait, no, actually, they just seem dry on the surface, was like a little bit of a commentary on Fire and Blood?
Um, Most likely, yeah.
Because I mean, not even like a comment about the quality, but I almost feel like when back in 2018 when it was released, it was like, here's a huge, enormous ass history. Like, enjoy. And obviously there's a lot of like a ton of interesting stuff and great storytelling in there. But I feel like it might have been like a, this is what we're working with. Histories
A
that
little
people
bit of
might
an FU,
otherwise
yeah.
dismiss.
You asked for wins a winner. You asked for another Dunkin' Egg. Here's this massive encyclopedia instead.
Part 1!
And give me your money. Oh yeah, part 1. I forgot about that. Fuck. I honestly, it's so hard to watch these two. It just makes my skin crawl. And to me, there can't be no sexual abuse the way he's touching him. I mean, so it's like, I just don't get his point of like in the last episode, oh, the Targaryens suck, but you kind of are doing Targ stuff, like just without dragons, and you're not like, I don't know, as pious with the faith as you think you are, homeboy. But what's really bothering me the most about Ormond, and maybe I'm missing something, what is the point of Alicent being like, oh, he's really sensitive to smell? What is the payoff of that supposed to be?
Is he gonna like die in a open privy or something, or like a
Yeah, like
latrine?
is it that like when the bodies start burning and tumbled in, he, I don't know, gets so distracted by it that it ends up in his death? I'm very confused by all of that.
Tentative theory is that if you theoretically wanted to attack a city in a way that was debilitating, specifically to a person with smells, but was not going to kill any of, or probably kill any of the small folk, just having the dragons vacate their bowels while they fly over is an option.
That would be the
It seems too
greatest.
silly to talk about, but like on the other hand, I'm like, I mean, that might actually solve their problems.
Like in a series that loves to watch people shit, that would be really great. I also kind of,
I mean, is there a command
if you
for
loved
shit
the
in Old
cats being
Valyrian?
released, if you loved Cat's Landing, get ready for Skunkleton. You know what I mean? Oh boy, it's so bizarre. And I don't recall them mentioning anything about that in the book. I mean, he's kind of a priss, but I'm so distracted by that story beat. It's driving me a little nuts.
You got to give the really uncomfortable, creepy dude a really awkward and kind of creepy thing to do.
It's kind of like Roose with his leeches. It's just like a kind of like silly
Right, yeah.
character flourish that emphasizes that he has like a personal defect of some sort. I was watching an interview with the actor, and he said two things that I found interesting. One of them was just cute. He likes the physical act of putting his pomander together and putting all the spices in it. But he said that like the directors were very clear with him. They're like, it can't just be abuse. Like there has to be affection between you and Darren. So like there has to be like an actual real current of I care about you, which is something that he's always keeping in mind. He's like, yeah, he loves this kid. He's also like a monster who is like strangling him with his evil vines. Um, so yeah, it's by far a much more interesting dynamic than I anticipated, and I'm glad that they're in the show. Like both of these characters that I had a lot of worries about, and now I'm like, I actually love watching these two every time they're on screen.
Yeah, and very dynamic. And I do wonder if they're gonna take this to where we're wondering they might take it. I still feel like Ormond is a little bit like primary colors a villain, you know. But yeah, we'll see.
Oh, just to say one thing about the Damon and Luther Largent scene. Again, it is great to see them kind of navigating through this giant set. But also, like, the costuming has been exquisite this entire season, and Damon is looking very good in his, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's got like a leather thing that goes over his black robe. Everyone is just looking great. That was my primary
Agreed.
takeaway. It's like, yeah, the guards with their bowels out, looking great, dead on the ground.
Okay, I have a quibble about that. Okay, weren't there like they were like in their full armor across their bellies, but then their bowels were just hanging out?
Well, they slit their throats first, so I'm guessing they like, I don't know, took it off or something. I
Right,
don't
but
know.
to disembowel them, they didn't take their armor off too, unless.
It is all suspiciously elaborate.
I'm sure somebody had a conversation about that on set, and they're like, well, if we take their armor off, nobody's gonna know they're gold cloaks.
Yeah, I will say though, yeah, with those seeing the guards disemboweled and everything, and then again with the end of the episode too, and the caltrops with the horses, this episode is really focusing on like just kind of like, here, look at this really gross thing for 5 seconds.
Yeah, we're definitely in the grisly for sure.
In the Red Keep, Godswood, Alicent tells Helena they are to escape the castle tonight with the help of a handmaiden, but Helena will not leave Jaheira. Alicent says the child will be fine. However, Helena says that she looks away when she lies. In the Riverlands, Bela and Aelin bond a little bit. And then back in Heron Hall, Aemond wakes up from dreaming of his dragon with Alice telling him that all that's going on. Aemond breaks down, realizing Vhagar really is gone. It's just, brother issues and mommy issues in one sweet little package.
So about the Helena and Alicent in the Godswood scene, doesn't she have one of those nightshade caterpillars back in their room later in the episode?
I was wondering
Yes.
if it was the same. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
there
So
is now a poisonous caterpillar at large within reach of, well, I guess if they ever get back to their rooms.
yeah, so I mean, I guess are they trying to? I guess if they're trying to do a little more groundwork on the on Gurm's T-post on his blog, because if she has it as a in her chambers, then she could just like they could have her staring at it longingly once they get them back in their room, and to show that she's like contemplating suicide. But
I genuinely don't know where they're going with the caterpillar, but I do like that we're now on the lookout for pot shots against George. We're like, is this the middle finger that they're giving George?
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's fair, right?
I mean, if he can give them out, he should at least be able to take them. But yeah, with the caterpillar, I guess I didn't go further than, it just being a reminder like, oh yeah, she's, for lack of a better phrasing, quirky and likes bugs and wants to raise chickens, like. Okay. Any last thoughts on those few scenes?
The other scenes were Would you remind me of those again? Sorry.
It was so after the scene in the Godswood, it's the Riverlands with Bela and Aelin, and then Aemond wakes
Adam.
up Adam. My goodness, I'm terrible with the names today. So the two of them in the Riverlands, and then Aemond wakes up from dreaming about Vhagar.
Okay. Okay, so this is right before the double I'm envious of my brother thing.
Mummy always loved him better.
What is her line that she says where she's like, the one who grieves her the most is the one who she loves the most? I did not follow the line of her logic there.
And then
Oh,
she ends
really?
this conversation with, he's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "When he's grieved." It's like, what?
One who has been grieved, which is even weirder.
Yeah, well, I don't understand Alice at all.
So that line actually made a lot of sense to me. In certain family dynamics, it's a little bit squeaky wheel gets the grease. Like I think the reality of it was that Allison's main concern has always been Helena, and it's funny to me that Aemond and Aegon are unknowingly fighting with each other about which one their mother preferred when she's just calling Helena dearest the whole episode. But it was a logic that tracked to me that the difficulties with Aemond would kind of would inspire a certain kind of softness or care in Alicent, even if it didn't manifest in an actually caring or helpful way. Like the way she acts in the scene, the famous like goat of House of the Dragon scenes where there's the confrontation about Aemon's eye. Like it's such a deep wounding, and like I don't know, it tracked for me. I don't know what exactly Alice means by that, other than either maybe she has been a mother in the past and had this experience, or she's just trying to like further inculcate that like I am your mommy, sleep with me with Aemond. But
Yeah, I mean, I do like, even if they're like, I prefer this Alice scene over the previous one with like the fucking bats and stuff. But yeah, like something that I didn't notice, I'm actually like watching the episode right now in the background, is when he gets up, he looks at the door and she has like stacked all the furniture in front of it so that he
Yep,
can't
yep.
get out. And he's like, "Am I a prisoner?" And I was like, "I guess so." Um, but yeah, like I kind of dig that like Helena told him that he was gonna die at the God's Eye, and now he's at the God's Eye without his dragon. It makes sense that he's having like this complete mental collapse where he's like, I ruined everything. My brother, I worshipped him, but he was mean to me. Everything sucks now. um, I like it. It's well needed vulnerability for him.
and the way he says like without her, without Vhagar, I'm nothing, like really resonated with me, because you can almost imagine that that's how he thinks of his life, like nothing to
Mm-hmm.
something over the course, and the difference is Vhagar, and it's backed up by the way he's treated and the responsibilities he's given, and almost everything. So having him be like, I don't know where my dragon is, and I don't think she's coming back, and I know what my fate is in this place, genuinely like a true vulnerability. I agree.
Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to a very similar conversation with Aegon and Larys still in the woods, where Aegon pretty much says the same thing his brother Aemon did, only instead of a weird witch lady comforting him, he dresses him down and tells him he was a terrible king and he's a terrible man.
Yeah, it's glad to finally see someone talking to Aegon like this. It's like, no, it's like, yes, like, yeah, your mom never loved you and stuff, but like, like it's not anyone else's fault that you chose to spend all your time partying and not studying. And yeah.
I love that Larys's emotional explosion is like a 2 out of 10 in terms of emotional intensity. This is the most he's ever raised his voice, and it's still a whisper.
I was surprised. I didn't think he had it in him.
He has, in the previous scene when they're walking through the woods, he has this great little face twitch where he's like, I'm feeling my blood start to simmer.
Mhm.
I mean, it is a good scene. Like, my question with all these Aegon scenes this season is like, what are they going to amount to? Because at this point, he's kind of been presented like multiple opportunities to reach an emotional catharsis or like take a lesson, and he's avoided it. He's dodged around every opportunity. And kind of the episode ends with him like knifing that guy, and Laris being like, really, dude? Like, fuck. Like, so yeah, I don't know, like, is the character going to take anything to heart? Is he going to change in a dramatic way? That's like more my concern, because it's like in isolation the scene was great, and I'm like, but is this actually going to like build to a catharsis? Not sure.
I mean, maybe that's the point, that they're showing this juncture, and then they're going to have Aegon actively decide to not do anything from it, right? Because then they have, when he comes back to King's Landing after a little Rhaenyra barbecue, they like he and Alicent are like bickering about what to do with Aegon the Younger as a hostage, and like how to, because like he's going, or he just, yeah, he does grow into being just a right tyrant, right? And yeah, he's I don't think he ever goes back on the milk of the poppy, but
It's interesting. I really am a little confused by it. I'm still, I'm still interested to see if they do take him down this road or of, I mean, redemption is the wrong word, but like just to sub in a term, because I do still think that there's an opportunity for him to be more in tune with the small folk, at least on a visceral level, than Rhaenyra, who has never experienced anything like this, and kind of holds herself further and further away. Yeah, I don't know. I keep every time he has this scene, I'm like, okay, this is it. Okay, this is it. He's coming back to Laris, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna say something humble, and then it's like, hire the fucking ship. I'm like, okay, what? All right. I guess we have to bring I mean, honestly, the guy creeping around, whatever, we'll talk about it later. But I thought the climax of this was a little bit silly, but yeah.
Hey, the Lannister got better.
Yeah. For me, with Laris, it was a little pot calling the kettle black. Like, takes one to know one, bro. I kind of like the matter-of-fact way that he said it, though. I think him not actually getting like wildly emotional, for me, it meant more. It was a little more impactful, where it's just like, I've got nothing left to give you except the blunt truth.
I'm just curious, like, what made him, because Laris has been so in the worst and most like desperate of circumstances, so determined that he has like that he needs to ride this horse and like play his piece and maintain a grip on Aegon so that he can use this later. And it's fascinating that he has finally, I guess, decided that is not, come what may, like if he decides to stick with me, then great. If not, then fuck this guy.
I could agree with that.
I mean, I think it's just that Aegon's the only guy who's like really like advanced him so far, right? I mean, you can't. Yes, he left Otto as a gift for Daemon and an opportunity to, at least like try to save his own neck should he fall into the hands of Team Black. But I mean, part of that, or part of the reason why he, just like forced Aegon to leave the city in the first place was just because, like Aemon so thoroughly rejected him in public in front of the small council and like humiliated him and told him in no uncertain terms that he's never going to get anything out of him, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm curious, like, what is tying Laris to Aegon? Like you would think that leaving that contingency of Otto very explicitly under his own name would allow him to just be like, okay, tried this, it wasn't worth it. I'm gonna go back to King's Landing, and it's a risk, but like potentially very high reward. So I'm curious, I'm curious, I guess, if Laris is almost having the moment of reckoning that we sort of want from, or at least I want from Aegon, and that like I have to actually focus on what matters in this life.
Right, that this is still plan A, and you have to see this through before you break glass and do plan B, right? And this is like the moment of like figuring out, can this work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's clearly just trying to keep, a hand in each camp or whatever, just kind of keeping contingencies for himself, really, I think.
I mean, besides, if this doesn't work out, he can probably like deliver Aegon's head to Team Black. So
Yeah, but why not just do that? What in Laris's personality is in this situation making him, instead of making a movement like politically or whatever, he is instead venting to Aegon and kind of appealing, emotionally somewhat to him. Like I'm curious what that is about for Laris, as opposed to like, yeah. Like I feel like Littlefinger, if he were in this situation, or maybe even Varys, would have been like, okay, we are gonna get this guy's head cut off, and we are gonna go back to King's Landing, and we are gonna, do our thing, whereas Laris has not abandoned him. And I don't know if that's like part of the disability thing, does he see something in Aegon deep beneath all the horrible stuff? I don't know.
I mean, I think I think as far as Laris knows, that if he switches camps, he can't have more foot sessions with Alicent. So there's that.
So back at King's Landing, Daemon laughs at finding Rhaenyra in the Sept praying, and he argues with her that the gods are nothing and omens are winds. He leaves her by saying, "You are more than this," which at that point, does he, when he walks into a room, does he already have what he's going to say when he exits the room?
He's done it twice now this season.
Mic dropper.
Yeah. I love this scene. This might be my favorite scene of this whole season. Just watching them go back and forth in Valyrian, just awesome, electric. It's incredible that like they're acting through this made-up language, and also like this is another situation where it's like unfortunately Daemon is right about certain things. I mean, it is extremely like hypocritical of him to be like, "You're seeing omens and portents," when it's like, my guy, you touched the tree last season and it gave you an omen and a portent. um, but yeah, like this is, I mean, it's kind of a reiteration of what they've been going through of like, you're the queen of the dragons, like stop freaking the fuck out, and her freaking the fuck out, and I'm feeling like, I think I said this earlier in the episode, like I feel like what it's eventually going to be driving towards is like she's either going to lean into what he is selling and be like, "You're right, I am the queen of the dragons, burn that town," or he's just going to decide to push her over the edge himself by taking control of the situation and doing what she won't. But what I do love about the scene that I think is a little different is that like I appreciate any scene where they actually feel like they're married, and the fact that he comes on screen and is teasing her and she immediately is like, "Ugh, don't." Like, like, "Don't tease me. I know this is bullshit. I'm doing it anyway for appearances." And then when she's taking the piss out of him at the end of the conversation, he kind of smirks like, "Yeah, that's my wife. My wife is giving me a hard time and I kind of like it." Um, it's good. It's such a great character scene between these two. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, no, I loved when he said like, "Are you doing this, or are you talking about like, you need to you need. I think Rhaenyra says that like she needs them to see that she is like acting pious, and he's like, "Are you talking about the gods or the faith?" And she's like, "Both." That was a very canny line to me, and it's not the most healthy relationship.
But it's damn entertaining.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And once again, though, I will say I think slightly minimized by the fact that we have not seen them having sex since season 1, right? So
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because they are so fucking hot. Like, anytime they're together, I'm like, come on, HBO. I'm paying you $20 a month. Yeah, it does beg the question, like, even if they even have sex at this point in their marriage. Like, I know they have kids, but I don't know. There was something like very chaste about the way that she crawled into his bed a couple of episodes ago. It's like maybe they're just kind of over it. Like, maybe Rhaenyra is like she's too gay at this phase of her life. She's like, I'm sorry, like we're done.
I guess I partly keep bringing this up because, like, in the scene where he kneels to her in the finale of last season, at least my interpretation of her is like, I would fuck you right now. Like the look on her face. And, you know, obviously Jace dying is going to put a little bit of a damper on that, but, you know.
I don't know. I guess I never thought about it until you guys started bringing it up this episode, but now I feel like it is like kind of a big hole that they should fill. Wink, wink. Also, fucking is a word in Valyrian, I guess.
I was thinking that too.
Like they said Westerosi names like just in Valyrian accents, but fucking was a whole ass Valyrian word.
I was like, we now know the word for bowels in Valyrian. This is great.
And maybe that's the command they use to get the dragons to shit over Tumbleton.
I do think it's neat that like their names are different in Valyrian than they are in Westerosi Common. Like if you actually like hear
Oh
the way they
yeah.
pronounce their names, somebody like theorized that maybe it's because like dragons are hermaphroditic and like both male and female, that maybe like Valyrian isn't gendered the way that common language is. Like so maybe like Rhaenyra, I'm pretty sure like it's not like a feminine word the way that he says her name. Like maybe it's more like a gender neutral word.
Right, and even the way she said Damon, it was like Diamond, like
Daimon.
almost Diamond. Yeah, it was cool. It's a great little detail.
It felt very code switchy to me, which is kind of cool. Like if you have a name that comes from a different language and it's not going to be pronounced the way that it is pronounced in the language you've been adapted to, you know?
Michal would know nothing about that.
I don't know anything about that. Okay, I have one question. I'm sorry. I know we're going so long. I just have one thought that I don't think I have another place for, and this will do as well as any. It's very interesting to me that, like, the Hightower response to, like, the conquest, right? Like, part of the way that Ormond talks about the Targaryens is disgusting and racist. And part of it is also, like, we were colonized by these people and they took us over and, you know, are now ruling us, and we didn't have a say in that because they had gigantic flying nukes. And, like, it's interesting to me that, like, and I guess maybe this is occurring to me more because that was kind of like the explicit text of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms when Raymond Fossaway was like, you know, they took us over without concern for our culture, our history, our rulership, you know, whatever. So it's kind of fascinating to me that we're still sort of like on Team Targaryen, like whichever way you slice it, you know, we are sort of on the side of the colonizers here. And not that obviously there's no like colonizing coding among the Hightowers, but like realistically, yeah, they are, I guess, the native people here, at least in, you know, in the Reach. And I don't know. I found it just an interesting kind of contrast in the way that like we discuss these things through art.
Sure, there is the irony there of like he's telling the story of Dornish resistance and rebellion, and it's super badass and cool, and it's like the Dornish aren't doing anything that he's not also proposing. Like he's speaking obviously in terms of like blood purity and like moral superiority, which is disgusting. But he's also like talking about overthrowing the the colonizers in the same way that the Dornish people did. So it's like it's weird. Like you get what he's saying, but also it's like he's not pure in his intentions either. Like he's not like trying to
Oh, yeah,
equalize
absolutely. Yeah.
of like he's not trying to bring freedom to the downtrodden. He's just trying to advance his own position, which you could argue that Marion Martell was also doing. But yeah, it's complicated, and I don't remember like first men are the action like okay, so the children of the forest are like the OG natives of Westeros, and then the first men come over, and then the Andals, and then the Targaryens. Is that like the order of things? So it's like even
Yeah.
the Andals are themselves colonizers because they come over from Essos. It's just like different time periods of colonization.
Yeah, and and yeah, I mean at this point in the story, the Hightowers are their MO is to just like co-opt the new power structure from within, right? That fits the pattern with Alicent's marriage into the Targaryens and having this assertive faction to have to uh, enforce what they believe is their position, and but they've they did this before with Maegor, like that High Septon, or sorry, the High Septon during Maegor's reign was a Hightower, and he arranges the Hightower match with Maegor's first wife.
Well, I can kind of see that too, and it kind of made me think a little bit too, because we're what like 100 years, 75 years from the death of the dragons at this point in the time.
Right.
So now it kind of now to me now it's kind of just more of an interesting wrinkle to the High Towers and Citadel being the ones who killed the dragon.
Right. And even if like back to season 1 with the stuff about the Hightowers, or with as far as like Otto was colluding with the Maesters to, get Alicent to be Viserys's next wife. It's, like the Maesters and the Hightowers don't have the exact same goals at that point, right? Because the point, or the real goal of House Hightower would be to get in as the consort kin and then pull the ladder up to prevent anyone else from becoming the next grasping kin of the consort. But then the Maester's objective is to kill the dragons, right? So it would suit House Hightower better to keep the dragons just so long as no one else gets a slice of the pie, right? So
Yeah, that makes sense. So the war band headed by Cole trudge on by foot, still trying to get a leg up on the Rivermen. Larys and Aegon are back at that one town whose name I forget, and Aegon tells Larys to hire them a ship when a surprise Lannister appears. In the Red Keep at night, when Alicent and Helena try to sneak out, they are found by Mysaria. She figures out that Helena is the one that's pregnant, and she won't keep any more secrets from the Queen. But while Alicent tries to tell the White Worm to act for herself, Helena says she needs to go outside and see the moon. Somewhere else in the castle, Rhaenyra peeks in on her son Joffrey sleeping. And then Cole's warband is still on the march and go through some marches, and they leave those that drop where they lay.
I never realized that I wanted a scene between Alicent and Mysaria. Turns out I did.
Totally.
Yeah,
And I thought Alicent's argument was very sound and tactful. Like she's basically telling Mysaria, look, the pregnancy is going to reveal itself eventually. You can either play your card now or you can keep it close to the chest and watch and see how things fall. And also she's like clocking Visaria. She's like, yes, look, I know we're both super gay for Rhaenyra, but girl, it's not gonna work out. Look ahead into the future. Stand on your own. Look at where I am. You could be where I am.
And you have been, like, and at Rhaenyra's hand. So, I think it was a pretty potent reminder.
Yeah, Allison even explicitly says you were once a prisoner too. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Did anybody else think when they were talking and Helena was over by the window that you were just gonna see
Oh
her
my
like kind
God.
of fall off screen in the background?
Oh my God. Oh my God. When Allison was like, the window will have to do, I'm just like, I screamed.
No, not the window.
Put that girl on the other side of the room, far away. I don't know if they're fucking with us or laying foreshadowing, basically.
Both is good.
I've seen a theory that she's checking the moon because she knows which day she's supposed to die. And so she's trying to figure out if it's time yet. Yeah.
Didn't she, when she told Aemond how he was going to die last season, she mentioned something about the moon?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't remember. She does mention that he's at Harrenhal this episode, though, because she said she saw him burning without flames.
Me nodding knowledgeably, like, she means fever.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much there. See, I was going to try and say something about Joffrey when Rhaenyra goes and looks on him, but even that was kind of just a nothing scene. Just confirming that Joffrey's there and alive still.
Listen, it's hard to be a mom and a CEO.
Yeah. Is Joffrey even going to get a line before the dragon pit?
It'll be hilarious if Rhaenyra just keeps avoiding him all season until he's a dead little boy. It was very sweet that he tried to stay up for his mom, though, and he couldn't.
That is a cute line. And then after that, at Harrenhal, some Iron Man clamber up into it, looking for Aemond, and start to attack Alice when Aemond hops out fighting and killing them all, jumping around like a kitten with a sword, which is like my favorite thing. That's such a good choice. And he fed the werewolf.
Is this like teleporting Iron Man because this is the only mention we've ever really had about the Ironborn this series, except for maybe there was an offhanded reference at the Green Council about Dalton Greyjoy, but...
I wouldn't even have clocked them as Iron Man if the one dude didn't say something about a salt wife.
Right?
I thought one of them was Hugh, honestly. The guy who had, like, the blonde hair and the half pony.
I did
was
too!
Like,
yeah, the guy who came in first, yeah.
So I was real confused.
Yeah, it's like we missed a few plot points to get from A to B here, but...
I thought it was very silly that they were climbing up the cliff. I mean, I can extrapolate reasons for them to be doing that. It just felt like it felt silly. The fact that Alice, her full-time role as the caretaker of Harrenhal is to greet people with her hands on her hips and tell them to get lost.
Well, I wonder too if they're like, well, we can't just have another group walk in. Let's make them climb or something.
I think that is exactly it. I think it was very a writerly thing of like, we can't have the same scene twice, so let's make it a little more dynamic. It just felt goofy to me.
I guess they might also be trying to remind us of the heart tree there because, that becomes rather iconic soon.
Yeah, I hope so. It's one of the coolest things in the book.
But yeah, I was just like, I mean, okay, I liked seeing Aemond like dash out of nowhere and kind of like in a dazed stupor still be able to just like wreck shit with these guys. But I didn't need it to be like at the, we're gonna rape Alice thing. I'm like, you guys played that card once this season and that was already more than enough. And I didn't need it this time. And I kind of want, if that's going to happen to Alice, I kind of want her to be able to like witch her way out of shit like that. So Like, if we have to go through all of the dumb bat shit, then, like, can we at least please just, like, have her be able to take care of rapists?
Well, it's definitely a choice, because you're right. They've already done it once, and even that was certainly questionable. Because literally, just have Aemon come in a minute before, same exact scene. But this time, when he jumps out, have him go huzzah! Any last thoughts on this one?
Yes, sorry. I'm in the middle of running an errand before I run out of time. But
You're fine. Go ahead.
I just was wondering, do we think that we will get all of the setup with Cyrax not being in the dragon pit, and that's Joffrey's death, or it'll come by some other random means?
I think we still have a little bit to go before the dragon pit, so I think they can have us look at or get a glimpse of Cyrax in the yard of the Red Keep before then.
I'm nervous that it's one of those things where to have them in the rest of the season and then like other special effects budgets, they just won't.
Since this episode, yeah, I mean, like, I was expecting Butcher's Ball, but part of that is because, I was kind of expecting the Dragon Pit as a finale, but that doesn't seem likely considering the pace that this episode took. And they could, of course, just choose to do a few things out of order. But first, they really should have Tumbleton be taken and have the treasons, because that's a part of the like present danger that's like really getting the people agitated.
Yeah.
Together with the fact that they can't leave because Rhaenyra orders that the gates closed.
I feel like we have to have like 2 of 4 things happen by the end of the season. Butcher's Ball, Tumbleton, Sack of King's Landing, Joffrey's ride on Cyrax. Like 2 of them must happen before the end of this season, right?
I don't think King's Landing's gonna get. I don't think the riots are gonna happen this season.
Yeah, and I don't think they should, but I'm just saying, like, overall criteria, you got to have at least 2 of those 4 things, because I just can't imagine they don't spend a lot of time on actually wrapping up the dance next season, and they can't come out of the gate with like the battle at the God's Eye, right?
Yeah, and part of that is balancing that with the fact that they want to keep Matt Smith as long as possible, and like depending on how they want to schedule the God's Eye vis-a-vis the Dragon Pit, then yeah. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, I think just considering what happened to this episode, that they still should be doing the treasons and the Butcher's Ball by the end of this season. Yeah, but also for like, like they also need to like have more of like Rhaenyra's breakdown around Sheepstealer, and to they need to bring Corlys back so then she can order the arrest of Adam, and then they can then the Corlys is permanently alienated from her side, right?
Well, yeah, we have his like turncoat moment. Well, I think there's going to be fallout happening based on the preview for the next episode. Bela is in the preview. Also, if anyone was wondering, spoiler alert, they do get out of that tunnel, Allison and Helena. It's
right.
like, I don't know why leave it off there when the second clip you show for the coming episode is them not in it. It was a very odd one.
I mean, like, yeah, they're like, it's like whoever's gonna come in to check on them will come in, and then like they'll hear them, like pounding on the door and screaming help. So like, what is that? How the I mean, like the only is that like the best they could come up with for like how to reveal the pregnancy to the rest of the court and not just Miss Arya?
I don't fucking know. Like, there's just so much of that was a little bit frustrating for me. Some of the pointless choices that are made by this show really get me. But I guess it's all going to be mostly a matter of hindsight with some of these things.
Back with the burned king, Larys and Lannister discuss plans. Larys wants to go to the Free Cities, but Lannister wants to go to Casterly Rock. The scruffy nerf herder running the camp sneaks into Aegon's bag and finds his crown, to which Aegon stabs and kills him, saying he will call him your grace. Back in King's Landing, in the Gold Cloaks barracks, Daemon gives a morale-boosting speech, and his captain are told that there was a suspect caught. In the Riverlands, Cole and his Walking Dead are nearing Stony Sept. When they find the Rivermen have already come and burned the bridge as they crossed. Sir Gawain exclaims that they have failed. Daemon and his captain torture their suspect and get out of him that Ormond has set all this up and has declared Daeron as king. Sir Gawain learns that Cole's plan this whole time was to march the band into their own death by meeting the Rivermen in a head-on confrontation. As Crispy Cole gives a sad speech to his men, with Gawain leaving him, we see Alicent and Helena find a secret door in their room, but they get locked in and lose their lights, which is an actual nightmare. And then the episode ends with Daemon finding the Gold Cloaks barracks burned and in the back, Feast of the Dead.
I like how whoever's been, putting up that graffiti is literate and has a supply of, okay, well, at least for the graffiti, not the blood on the wall at the end of this episode, but yeah, they have red paint and blue paint, and because the blue paint is made from crushed lapis lazuli, so that shit's expensive.
Yeah, I'd be checking the Westerosi equivalent of Hobby Lobby. Like, who runs a Michael's craft store around here? You know? There's a lot of shenanigans right here at the end for me. The first thing is, I do like Helena is clever with her little candlelight, but where is the sucking air coming from through that crack in the door that they have to use all their weight to push open? So physics aren't physicking. Like, was that anyone else bothered by that, or is it just me?
No, I just assumed that air moving past the entrance, like the little gap, would kind of suck inward.
And I think that's the door Rhaenyra uses in the first season, right? Like when she's sneaking
I was
out.
wondering about that.
I'm more concerned that Alicent and Helena are just going to be trapped in the walls for the next 3 episodes. Maybe that was already mentioned, but just neither they're going to escape or they're going to get caught. It's a very strange way to end that little escapade.
It's just a way to manufacture more drama, because it's just like they're going to spend like 10 minutes on this in the next episode of turning the castle up and down to look for Helena and Alicent, but then, like someone is going to, or, some servant is going to just walk into their room and hear them screaming for help and then find them, and it'll be a whole nothing burger, right?
Maybe we still have to get that scene in the preview of Helena looking like she's giving birth, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Wait to figure out what the hell is going to come of this. R.I.P. Luther Largent. You were an interesting dude, an interesting side character. I do like that he looks a little disgusted when Daemon plucks the eyeball out of that dude's skull. Understandable, and a nice reminder of who Daemon is. He's the same dude who chopped off hands and stacked them in a big pile in season 1.
Yeah, it's funny, like the Gold Cloaks, being what they are, and kind of Daemon's the one who's like, you guys don't need to go so hard. It's like, well, Who taught us to go so hard exactly? I wonder.
You know, Katie, I think that you make a good point on the scene of Helena, looking like she's giving birth. I wonder if the deal is that Alicent didn't drink moon tea. She'd already found a way to swap that out and sort of roofie Helena with it. So what we're actually seeing is not her giving birth, but having a miscarriage, essentially. Or simply them getting trapped is maybe stress-inducing to that point.
I mean, Helena's not that far along. She's like about to be showing, right? So like anything that she
It's
ends
a
up
pretty dangerous
giving
time.
birth to. I mean, like that would be like a stillbirth or a miscarriage either way, right? Like that wasn't.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though. It's like that I could see as plausible if it's like then she's under stress in the dark, trapped, and ends up having a miscarriage, and then it's like neither here nor there. The other thing I could see where it's not just some manufactured BS, if they're using this as a way to contrive flushing out like a spy of Ormond's, or connecting it to some other plot thread somehow with sort of this as Bina would put it, like CSI Red Keep, where did they go? And as they question people, maybe like tie that into whoever is our artist doing his alfresco King's Landing, Flea Bottom, Last Supper with the gold cloaks.
I mean,
That
it's
was a
also
very
possible.
well-arranged tableau, though.
Yeah, unnecessarily dramatic, as I said before, but or theatrical. But I mean, it's also possible that they find a different way out. Like they, I don't know, but like they were probably going like, here's our one direction. So it is possible that they find like a smaller, I mean, I don't think they're escaping, but I guess it's possible that they find their way into some other room, or I don't know. I'm not totally, I'm not sure where they're going with that. Although I will say that like, I kind of like not being able to predict it with like, we've been like, and Helena has to throw herself out of the window for so long that like, I find it enjoyable to not really be able to predict exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think my one problem with that would be just like they essentially like filled in the tunnel. Then why would they leave a different? If there's like one just like on the right from that, why didn't they fill that one in too? But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Off the top of my head, maybe it is like not as well filled in, so they're able to break it out. I don't know that that's going to happen.
Maybe.
It's just a it's just a maybe.
Yeah.
I do want to say though, Cole's speech, I fucking love this.
Okay.
Like it was so good. It was so good.
I do love it. But how are you listening to a man literally talk about like, let's go to our deaths, boys, while his second in command dips out? Like, who is staying for that?
Well, I mean, he's only talking to. I mean, I'm sorry, I meant the speech he gives to Gawain, not the speech he gives to the men.
Okay.
I agree. All those men should be like, I'm outie. But the speech to Gawain, like, really kind of crystallized something for me. First of all, like the way he floats the idea of rejection and the idea that he is still not quite over. I mean, I maintain that that's not the only thing going on in that situation, but like he's still not over being rejected by Rhaenyra, which is fascinating. But I found it really powerful that he was like, I don't need to continue to be played with and fucked over with and spiderwebbed by all these noble people, and like the way I see out of this is a glorious death in battle. And I was like, that actually felt more legitimately populist to me than like a lot of the like Missaria, we must feed the people and Alice stuff. Because it felt like it came from experience that I had seen with him. We have seen him be treated this way. And again, it's not that Cole is an innocent in this, like he has played his own role, but for him to come to that point where he was just like, he's almost like, I'm stuck in this system and the only way out is death. And like, I found that very powerful.
Mm.
I agree. It
I
was
would
very
agree.
much
Yeah.
like when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. But in his case, it's like when you've been played by the Game of Thrones.
And the way to win is to die for him.
Correct. Yeah. Like I will live on and I'll die with dignity because he knows his life is forfeit regardless. Like even if he fled across the narrow sea, his life is over. And the things that he wanted in his life, he couldn't really acquire and keep hold of except for keeping vows. And yeah, I agree with you. That was probably one of the greater parts of the season.
And it's
And
it's it's sorry, go ahead, Katie.
oh, I was just gonna say he's been suicidal before, also, so it makes sense that he's kind of like this is a familiar place for him mentally. Like we see him almost kill himself in season one before Alicent calls his name and pulls him back from the edge. And in this case, like Gwaine tries to pull him back from the ledge and he just can't reach him. And it is very sad. It's like he's planning this elaborate suicide, but it's still a suicide. And then like his one comfort, he's like maybe Alicent will hear a song about me. It's like Jesus, dude. It's really dark.
Do you like how the two suicidal ideations or plans are intrinsically linked, in that regard of he's suicidal because he's disgraced himself and now he's suicidal to gain that grace back, kind of.
Yeah. And as possibly the only Alicent and Kristen Cole shipper in the world, or maybe on this podcast, it was very kind of fitting and sweet to me, and dark also, that they both have to acknowledge their role in the other's lives, or the other's role in their life. In this episode, like Alicent basically confesses to having an affair with him, and the way Massaria actually, great line worth shouting out, like, was it a commoner or a noble or both? Because she knows exactly what's going on. And the fact that Alicent did have to abort a pregnancy. And then Kristen just kind of being like Alicent as this kind of avatar of, like, I guess what the ideal version of his life could have been like. That, through many people's faults, including his own, has not come to pass. But also because of the systems that he is in. Like, yeah, found it very enjoyable. I assume he's gonna go next episode, but they've surprised me before, so.
Yeah, what makes that conversation between him and Gwaine effective as well is it to me it felt like you could see Gwaine's heart breaking in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep. Head over heels in love with him.
I do think it is a good choice, and this is a preview spoiler, but that Gwaine is going to be with Darren and Ormond. I think that adds like that creates like a triangle between those three characters that I think will be interesting to watch, because Gwaine is a good person, like relatively, and I imagine like that might like he's going to be the angel on Darren's shoulder versus Ormond, who's the devil. It's just it's a good place to put that character now that he's out of Cole's narrative.
Right, and you can do some triangulation with like why, or with like have like Darren ask, like, or have Gwaine not be able to fully protect Darren from something, and then just like have Darren like try to hold him accountable for something like that, but then it doesn't really fully land, and then there's good opportunities for that there. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you for telling me.
I mean, it's too late for Darren because they already made the merch, so.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't think he was really going to get out of this alive after the fake out, but.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to die. I'm just, I just think it's kind of funny to think that he's already being branded.
I think really the only thing I have left to say about this episode is that ending scene with the Feast of the Dead. It looks really cool, but I think it bummed me out because it'd be cooler to have seen it on the campaign. Isn't that what happens in the books? Is like they set up all these feasts of the dead, and Kristen keeps coming across them, and they got so desensitized to it that they ignored it until one of them they passed was a bunch of Northmen dressed up as fallen soldiers.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, it also kind of reminds you of what we didn't get in the House of the Undying, right?
Oh yeah,
Honestly, when I
that's
saw
such
that,
a bummer.
where my mind went when I saw that though was Harold and Maude. So maybe that's too deep a cut, but it is
No,
a
no,
good
I
one.
literally have a Harold and Maude tape behind me. Any last thoughts before we close out?
Yeah, I've got one global thought. I think that sometimes, and this is what I was trying to articulate when I first joined this chat and couldn't, is that sometimes this show makes me really wish that all of these actors and all of the creative teams and people behind the show had done Fire and Blood from page one to the opening scene of season one of this show instead. I think it might have been a better application, and I kind of wish we had that. Like, I feel like Matt Smith is a little bit lost to me as Damon, but would have made a great Aegon, or you know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
I wasn't a excuse me, I wasn't a fan of the casting choice when it was announced, but I've definitely eaten my words 1,000 times over because especially now with what we've been getting with Matt Smith, um, he's a great Damon. I think. I don't know. I don't think I'd want to see him play like in Conqueror or something.
I want both almost, and I don't think it would be totally out of line to do that show, do like and call it Fire and Blood and actually recast some of these people as their own ancestors. I don't think it would be cheesy or,
Well,
untoward
no,
to do
yeah,
that. And there's just moments that make me wish that we were seeing those things instead.
right. Well, I think that at least the aspect of like us wanting to see other Targaryen actors play Targaryen ancestors, like we've joked about it before, like with Harry Lloyd coming back or something like that.
Yeah, fuck yeah. My goodness, yeah, that would be amazing. He would make such a great, like, young Magar, you know, like
I was
Magar
thinking
during
Maegor.
Rhaenys. Yeah, fuck, that would be awesome. I would love to see Emma Darcy play Visenya, I think she could absolutely slay at that. It would be compelling if we're able to get it. If they want to keep this franchise going, that's to me like my number one priority. And I just think it would be really cool to have actually to see Jaehaerys the First's reign in a more substantial way.
Aren't there like talks about like an Aegon's Conquest movie or something, or is that just always just a perpetual rumor with no substantiation?
I think at one point it was like pretty much slated, but
No, they
I don't know.
they are making, or I mean, it's being written by one of the writers from Andor, a trilogy about Aegon's conquest.
Okay, I'll take
Which
it.
doesn't mean it's going to happen. Obviously, these
Doesn't
things
Yeah.
mean
happen.
it'll be good, yeah.
I mean, and maybe part of this is coming from the fact that I just reread this part, but I mean, like, Jaehaerys the First, that whole milieu of that is fucking phenomenal. Like, it's some of George's best writing, honestly. And it's a happier version of this world that we love in a lot of ways. I mean, there's still drama in it and stuff, but I don't know. I would love to get that. At least broad strokes of it.
All right, and I want to thank everybody for coming, and I also want to thank all of my co-hosts for joining me today. Always on our Discord, vokpodcast.com, YouTube, Facebook, you know the drill. And we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Zander. Love you. Love you guys.
Yep.
Gals, peoples. It's going to be a butcher's ball next week.
Can't wait.
Cannot wait.